What's up, Knicks fans? Welcome to another episode of Knicks Latest. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. Drop a comment. It is the biggest offseason in, I would say, the 2000s, right? Since the millennium. It's the biggest offseason since the millennium. This is a New York Knicks team that can actually win the NBA championship, and we're trying to build a community here of Knicks fans here at Knicks Latest. So make sure you subscribe. We got some news today. Mikal Bridges extended by the New York Knicks, 4 years, $150 million. We did some talking about this yesterday on yesterday's episode, saying that, this is a possibility. Wasn't sure if it was going to happen in the offseason. I thought it might happen maybe later on. I thought that maybe the Knicks would want to see how Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson and how this team fares underneath Mike Brown. But it turns out the Knicks wanted to do it today. They wanted to do it right away. And Mikal Bridges gets his extension, 4 years, $150 million. This shows that the front office has faith in this man. It also kind of shows me that they're willing to put, I wouldn't say the blame, but they're willing to put last year mostly on coaching and Tom Thibodeau because, let's be honest, Mikal Bridges, even though he did have his moments here and there, he had an up and down season, wasn't the player that Knicks fans thought they were getting for all of the year. He had great moments in the playoffs, especially in Boston. Anytime there was a big moment on offense or those plays on defense, he was there. The Knicks don't beat the Boston Celtics without Mikal Bridges, and I do think the front office took a look at that series, took a look at his December and saw how he was shooting the basketball, and I think they came to the conclusion that, hey, I think this is the guy that we can get going forward if our head coach, Mike Brown, implements an offense that can get him involved, that can make him feel part of the team. I think that was a lot of the issues that I had with Tom Thibodeau last year and the Knicks overall last year was that, I love Jalen Brunson, but the ball has to move more. I love Karl-Anthony Towns, but we got to do the pick and roll more with Karl-Anthony. We can't just throw the ball to him in the post if there's a smaller guy there. I understand having mismatches, but I just feel like last year, the Knicks offense, even though they do have off-ball actions and there are things that have been implemented to Tom Thibodeau, I want to be fair to him, it just wasn't enough for me. The offense was not necessarily predicated on ball movement, and I think that hurts someone like Mikal Bridges. And I think this year you're going to see a different Mikal Bridges. I think the Knicks front office obviously thinks that as well, or else they wouldn't have given the extension. But I do think that going into next year and for the following years as well, they see Mikal Bridges' skill set as a vital piece to a championship roster, and I do too. I mean, if we're being honest here, you could say whatever you want about his season last year. Mikal Bridges is one of the better 3-and-D players in the league. I think he's more than a 3-and-D player too. 3-and-D, you kind of talk about how, they can lock up on defense, but then they just kind of are relegated to a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. Mikal Bridges isn't just that. He does get into the mid-range. He has that little fadeaway jumper that he likes to take. He's more than just 3-and-D. He's the perfect complement to OG Anunoby on the other wing, both offensively and defensively. I think he had a hard time fitting in just for the simple fact that he didn't really touch the ball in spots that he usually does. But I do think this year is going to be different. I'm very high in Mikal Bridges this year. I'm very happy they didn't decide to trade him away. I think that this is the core that the Knicks need to roll with, and I'm very happy with the decision made. Now, you have decisions to make on Mitchell Robinson. Of course, the elephant in the room is always, can you win a championship with Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns being as weak as they are defensively? That remains to be seen. But as far as Mikal Bridges is concerned, I think we have enough information on his career, a larger sample size of him being an impact player. Even last year during an up and down season, you have a large enough sample size where you can point to and say, you know what, this is the type of guy who could be our starting shooting guard on a championship team. So congratulations to Mikal Bridges. I do think you deserve the extension. I do think you deserve, quote-unquote, another shot, even though I think that might be a little even too harsh to say. I'm happy that you're here. Let's move forward. Let's stop talking about this. Let's stop putting this man's name in trade rumors. He is our shooting guard for this year and hopefully for the next 4 years. Hopefully he lives out this contract. We win a championship with this contract, and we are happy that we traded 5 draft picks for Mikal Bridges. Now, with this news comes the news that the Milwaukee Bucks are not trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think the Knicks were holding on to Mikal Bridges and not extending him just in case they needed to use his salary, a very team-friendly salary, to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. It has come out recently that Giannis does not want to be traded as of right now. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And I think the New York Knicks kind of just took that and said, okay, well, now I'm comfortable extending Mikal Bridges here. Now, the Bucks are in a very interesting situation. Right now in the Eastern Conference, it's looking like it's the Cavs and the Knicks at top, tier 1. And then you have a bunch of teams that, you could make the argument could be dark horses or powerhouses in the East. The Magic look good. They've been making moves in the offseason. Same with the Hawks. You have the Bucks, who a lot of people forget about. And as long as you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, you have a chance at winning the championship. And I think he realized that. I think the Bucks organization realized that. And shout out to the Knicks front office for realizing that as well. And also taking in the information that Giannis is not going anywhere, which led to the Mikal Bridges extension. I'm not mad about this. Of course, I would welcome Giannis Antetokounmpo onto the New York Knicks. I'm not a fan of continually just turning over the roster, especially when it's your core, and changing the personality of your team. But at the end of the day, it's Giannis. So, of course, if he were to be traded to the Knicks, depending on what the deal looked like, yeah, I would be happy. Yes, I'd be amped, but there would be concerns about turnover, about identity and chemistry and things of that nature. Now we don't have to worry about that. Maybe Giannis becomes available later in the future, and maybe the Knicks need him, maybe they don't. But right now, going into this season, I don't want to think about that. And you shouldn't want to think about that either, right? The Knicks are 2 games away from going to the NBA Finals. Just need some tweaks. Just need to win on the margins. Right? Even the game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, it took a miracle to beat the Knicks. If that goes the other way, who knows what that series looks like? You got a game 7 in the Garden. So, I don't think the Knicks are far away here. The Knicks core is set right now. Karl-Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart, they're here to stay for now. And I think that's the way it should be. I know there was a lot of frustration last year with the way it ended. I know you could point to every single, or mostly every single Knicks player and say, man, if you would have done this, if you would have played in this way, I'm mad you didn't play this way. I understand that, but that's how it goes for every team that loses in the playoffs. That's the way it is. The Knicks had the most successful season they've had in 2+ decades last year. With all this, I wouldn't say turmoil, but all these question marks and all this doubt. And now you bring in a new head coach. The vibes are going to change a little bit, but maybe it's more positive. People know their roles. It's another year used to each other. The team seems like they get along, so that's not an issue there. I like the fact that they're keeping this core together. I miss the old core with Julius and Dante too, and I would have liked to keep them together. But the reality is that we didn't. Can't keep changing up the core. You change the head coach, you find a new philosophy, you keep it moving. In a year where Jason Tatum's out, in a year where Tyrese Halliburton's out, the only hump that they really have is the Cleveland Cavaliers. In my mind, at least, starting right now. It's between Cleveland and New York. There has never been more of an opportunity for the New York Knicks to get back to the NBA Finals than there is this year. Why would you mess with the chemistry? Why would you mess with the DNA of the team? It wouldn't make any sense to me. There were reports saying that there was a 40% chance that the core would be broken up. Why? So I'm happy that Leon Rose went in this direction. Keep continuity. I know you get a new coach, but keep continuity. Keep the locker room generally the same. Mikal Bridges is now happy. He got the extension. He's happy now because the coach let's be honest, him and Tibbs didn't see eye to eye. That coach is now gone. It's a new day with the same core, and I think it's a great thing. I like what this organization did this offseason. You had Jordan Clarkson. You had Guerschon Yabusele. 2 additions to the bench that I think were desperately needed. The Knicks needed to bolster the bench, and they did so. Let's move forward. It's August 1st, baby. The season's almost here. I'm excited to get going. This to me, outside of the Mitchell Robinson extension, was probably what I needed to see to actually gear up for this season and to be sure, okay, this core's staying together. We're going for it. We have questions about Mitch later. I'm sure we'll talk about that down the road. I'm sure his name will be brought up during the trade deadline if he hasn't been extended. His name is always brought up. But for now, we know our core. Let's get moving. It's the most anticipated New York Knicks season in 25+ years. So listen, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I want to take your comments. I want to use them as questions. Maybe you have opinions. We can debate, whatever you want to do. Let's keep it positive, though. Again, we are a suffering fan base. We've been waiting for this for such a long time. It is our time. It is our year. So if you're looking for a channel that's going to celebrate with you, that's going to debate with you, this is the channel right here. Make sure you subscribe, like the video. Let me know what you think of Mikal Bridges' extension, if you're for it, if you're worried about his play going forward, or if you're willing to, I don't want to say forgive, that seems pretty harsh, but if you're willing to look past the faults of last year and move forward. Let me know. Subscribe. See you tomorrow for another episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.